Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me on this brand new video. So I'll be doing another read aloud of reading Disney classics. So I'd like to thank you for subscribing to my channel. So far I really appreciate you guys, you are absolutely awesome. So we're going to have a go reading this book. I have got Disney's The Rescuers Down Under. This is Disney's Wonderful World of Reading edition and Gorilla Book Club edition. Yep, I guess you already recognise those familiar editions back in your childhood. Okay, so shall I begin with you guys? And I'll be enjoy. Far away in the wild and rugged land of the Australian outback, there lived a little boy named Cody. Cody spent his days exploring the rocky cliffs and crevices around his home. But more than anything, Cody loved to play with his animal friends. He had even learned to talk to them and to understand their language. One day, when Cody was out hiking, he met his friend Fallow, the kangaroo. She looked very worried. "Cody," cried Fallow breathlessly, "you must come at once. Motherhood of the great golden eagle is trapped in a poacher's net high up in the cliff. You are the only one who can free her." "I'll get her loose," Cody declared. "Let's go." Cody quickly climbed on the fellow's back and hung on tightly. As she took off, Fallow and Cody raced over the outback until they reached the bottom of a steep cliff. "Be careful," Fallow called, as Cody began a dangerous climb up to the top. When Cody reached the top of the cliff, he found Motherhood trapped in the poacher's net. She was stretching and struggling to free herself. After Cody cut out the thick ropes, Motherhood spread her wings. As they stretched, one of her wings accidentally hit Cody, and he tumbled off the edge of the cliff. "Help!" shouted Cody as he plunged toward a sharp rocks below. The great bird swooped down through the air until she was directly beneath the boy. Cody landed on her feathery back with a thud. Cody clung to Motherhood's neck as she took him for the ride of his life. They flew over the steep cliffs and through winding gorges until they reached her nest. Motherhood checked her eggs to make sure they were unharmed. Then she gave Cody one of her precious feathers to thank him for freeing her from the poacher's clutches. On his way home, Cody discovered a little mouse who had also been caught in a poacher's trap. The poor thing was dangling helplessly from a rope. But when Cody bent down to free it, the mouse shouted, "No, it's a trap, be careful." The warning was too late, and grass and branches beneath the mouse trap hid a deep, dark hole. When Cody freed the mouse, the branches gave way and fell into a pit. "Now I've got you," thundered a voice up from above. Cody looked up to see the face of Poacher at Percival McLeach. A grinning lizard was by his side. McLeach yanked Cody out of the hole. "Well, Joanna," he said to the lizard. It looks like we caught us a boy with a golden eagle feather. Then McCletch shoved Cody into a cage on his truck. You are staying there until you tell me where I can find that eagle, he told Cody with a sneer. That bird is worth millions to me, boy, dead or alive. Luckily, the Mitter Mouse had been watching and raced off to the animal telegraph office to send for help. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, two mice were dining in a fancy restaurant. Bernard was about to ask his friend, Mrs. Bananica, to marry him. Miss Bananica, were you? Bernard began, but he dropped Helene. Oh, excuse me, he said. Then he dived under the table to look for it. By the time he found it, Bananica was reading the message. Oh dear, we are needed back at the headquarters, she exclaimed. Without further delay, the two mice raced back to the Rescue Aid Society headquarters. There they had learned that they were going on a mission. A boy named Cody had been kidnapped, and Bernard and Bananica were chosen to help him. Bernard and Bananica asked Wilbur, the Algebrotus, to fly them to Australia. Sure, Wilbur told them as he looked out the window at the falling snow. When do you want to go? The middle of June? Tonight, said Bananica. And she explained their mission. Wilbur agreed to help them. Soon Bernard and Bananica were on their way. Bananica shouted a direction as Bernard held on for dear life. Let's take the train next time, sputtered Bernard. He was gratefully relieved when they finally saw a sunny shores of Australia, but the scary ride was not over yet. Robert crash-landed on the runway at Mugwump Flats Airport. Ouch! Cried a reckless albatross. I hurt myself. You have to be more careful next time, mate, said Jake, the Australian mouse who works at the airport. Bernard had to agree. Said Wilbur was hurt. Since Wilbur was hurt, Jake had agreed to help Bernard and Bananica cross the outback. There's nothing like a ride on the back of a flying squirrel, said Jake with a chuckle. Bernard soon find out when Jake meant it was a wild ride. Flying with Wilbur had been easy compared to this. As Bernard and Bananica were on their way, Cody was getting to know some of the McLeach other captives. There was Sados kangaroo named Red, frustrated koala bear named Creeps, and Frank, a frill-necked lizard who was trying to get out of his cage. Amazingly, Frank was able to pick the lock with his tail. but in order to free his friends, the small lizard still had to reach a set of key hanging on the hook high up on the wall. He stood on the box and reached for them. Suddenly, Joanna barged in and chased poor Frank back into his cage. Meanwhile, Bernard and Barnacle and Jake were getting closer. Luckily, the little mouse who had sent a telegram to the Rescue Aid Society and told them just where to find Cody. Finally, the mice arrived at McLeach's compound, but they were surprised at what they saw. McLeach was letting Cody go. "I don't need you anymore," he told Cody. "Your buddy's dead." Someone shot her right out of the sky. Then McLeach smiled an evil smile. "Too bad about those eggs. They will never hatch without their mother. They'll get cold and die with no one to take care of them." "Oh no," thought Cody. "I've got to save poor Myherge's eggs." He quickly set off for the nest. Myherge wasn't really dead. The clever McLeach was just trying to trick Cody into leading him to the nest of a great eagle. As McLeach followed Cody in his truck, the mice sneaked aboard, hopping to warn the boy. When the truck reached the cliff, the three mice hopped off to warn Cody. They found him at the Mohud's nest. "It's a trap," shouted Barnacle. "McLeach is trying to capture the eagle. We must warn her." But it was too late. Mohud had already came back, and she swoops down to the nest. McLeach threw a net right over her. Mohud's angry cries ran out as McLeach used a crane to pull her up. "Oh no," shouted Cody. "This is all my fault. I've got to help her before the mice could stop him." Cody leaped into the air and grabbed hold of a net that held a golden eagle. McLeish dropped a net into the cage on his truck. Well, well, Joanna, he laughed. It looks like we have caught two foolish birds with one net. Barnacle and Jake hurried to help Cody and Mohit, while Bernard stayed behind to watch the eggs. The wicked poacher wasn't finished yet. Lowering the lizard to Mohit's nest, he said, "Eat those eggs, Joanna. Joanna, we want this eagle to be a lost of her kind. Then she'll be even more valuable when we sell her to the zoo." Bernard quickly hid Mohit's eggs in his crevice. Then he rolled some rocks back into the nest. Rocks that looked exactly like eggs. Joanna did not see when she reached the nest. With a big smile, a greedy lizard bit into one of the eggs and cracked a tooth. So, instead of eating them, she pushed the eggs over the edge of the cliff and left back of the flats. Wilbur had recovered from his injury. He was on his way to find Bernard and Bonica. Wilbur finally found Mohawk's nest. "Wonderful," said Bernard with a smile. As he rolled the eggs back into the nest, he said, "You are just in time, Wilbur. Sit on these." Wilbur did as he was told, but he wasn't too happy about it. Then Bernard quickly climbed up to help his friends, but McLeach's truck was gone. Bernard followed the truck's tracks to Crocodile Falls. McLeach was about to lower Cody to the crocodiles in the river. Bernard arrived just in time and shut off the motor of the truck. But that didn't stop McLeach. He aimed his rifle and fired, breaking the rope that held Cody. Cody fell into the water with a splash. Bernard rushed to help him. "I hope I know what I'm doing," he muttered. With Gianna's help, Gianna snapping at his heels, the brave little mice ran between McLeach's legs. With a giant thud, Gianna crashed into her master, knocking all three of them into the water. Bernard grabbed hold of a rope that still bound the little boy. Not only did he have to save Cody from the crocodiles, but also from a dangerous waterfall. If they were swept over the edge, they would surely be drowned. Just when all hope seemed lost, they heard a sound of beating wings. It was Mohawk, Bonica, and Jake had managed to free the great bird from her cage, and she came to rescue Bernard and Cody. Mohawk lifted them out of the water just in time. McLeach was not so lucky. Bernard looked down just as the poachers was being swept over the edge of a waterfall. Bernard didn't feel sorry for him. Not one bit. It was hard to feel sorry for someone who's so cruel. Mohawk stopped to pick up Jake and Bonica. Then they were all on her way to take Cody home. As they flew past Mohawk's nest, Wilbur let out the great sigh. "I hope that eagle hurries back," he said to himself. "If these eggs hatch before she returns, the chicks will think of their mother." As the mice and Cody soared on the back of the wonderful eagle, Bernard finally found the courage to ask Bonica to marry him. "You are my hero," said Bonica, as she gave Bernard a kiss. "Of course I'll marry you. I thought you did never ask." Well, this is the end. I hope you enjoy listening to me reading this classic Disney story. I hope you all found it interesting, so feel free to write your comments down below and give thumbs up. See what you think of this video about reading 1990 animated classic The Rescuers Down Under. Is a sequel to the first Rescuers 1977. So hope you have a nice time, so please stay tuned and I'll see you on the next videos.